welcome in to an all-new edition of the Belly Up Fantasy Live Football Show, where we're talking playoffs. That's right. We got fantasy football playoffs starting off this week, and lots to discuss to get you ready to win your playoff matches in fantasy football. I'm Vince Stover, host of the Sports Stove Football Show. I'm joined by two experts of fantasy football. They've been with us all season. All the way on the end, it's Brian Germaro, co-host of the 3rd and 10 podcast. How you doing, Brian?
It's bittersweet. You know, I love talking fantasy playoffs, but that just means football season's coming to an end, which is always sad.
Yes, and in some cases, your team's football season has already come to an end.
In both cases, they're over. That's what we're talking about here.
We'll talk about that at the end, maybe, of the episode. Kevin Wilson is next to me. He is the senior writer at bellyupsports.com. Kevin, how you doing, man?
Oh, Vince, we're doing great over here and just enjoying being here, enjoying talking some football. So I'm ready to get going.
Ready to get going. We only have 3 or 4 episodes left in this fantasy football season. Hard to believe we've come this far, because you go back to the summer when we're doing rankings and all that kind of stuff. It really feels just like yesterday we were doing all that stuff. And here we are now, fantasy playoffs. I'm curious, guys, how many leagues are you in? Were you in? How many leagues are you in the playoffs? And how many leagues did you miss out on this year, Kevin?
Well, I'm in 4. 2 of them are redraft, 2 are dynasty. And even though I scored the most points in our belly up football, league, I'm out.
Yeah.
Because I also had the most points scored against me. So out of that, win my home league, I am the number 1 seed and have a first round bye this week.
Nice.
And in dynasty, I made the playoffs in 1 out of 2 of those. And a lot of our belly up colleagues are in those as well. So I'm 2 for 2. Yes, you could say 2 for 2.
There you go.
Or 2 for 4, or however that math comes out. But so I'm in the playoffs in 2 leagues.
Gamblers, if they hit 50%, they're pretty happy. So that's not all bad. Kevin, we'll call you the Kevin Wilson Bengals in the Belly Up Fantasy League. High scoring, yet can't stop a fly. But nonetheless, Brian, what about you this year?
I was in 6 leagues and made the playoffs in 3 of them.
Nice.
But I think the most annoying one was my buddy's league. I started the season 0-7 and missed the playoff by a half game.
Wow.
Yeah. 12-man league, 8 teams made the playoffs. So
yeah,
I had a lot of help, but it was still I almost pulled the most immaculate fantasy season you've ever seen in your life.
Yeah. Well, I have been 4 leagues, made the playoffs in 3. One of those leagues has a lot of kids in it. It's a family league. We got a lot of kids. So, it is what it is. But my one dynasty league I'm in did not make the playoffs. This is the 2nd year in a row I've missed. I gotta, maybe not keep as many guys this year or something. I gotta figure something out. But nonetheless, fun times. All right, well, let's get things rolling. Today, let's start off with our lead block. All right, for the lead block today, we're talking about sneaky players that can help you win your playoff matchups. Of course, we're not talking about the obvious guys that everyone knows. But I am curious if you got someone kind of on that back burner that you're thinking about, man, maybe 3, 4, 5 weeks ago, you would have never put them in your lineup, but where it is right now, matchup, how they're doing, whatever it may be, is a good sneaky play this week. So, Kevin, let's start with you. Who do you have that's a sneaky play this week for the playoff matchup?
So I'm going to start off with Woody Marks, the Houston running back. And against Kansas City, rushed for 68 yards, caught a receiving touchdown. His playoffs include the following teams. Arizona, who's 26th ranked against the run. If you win that matchup, then they've got Las Vegas, who's 21st. If you win that matchup, then you go up against the Chargers, a little more difficult, but still 16th. So that is a dream matchup right there when it comes to running backs. And Houston is playing very good football. So I think that is a guy that if you have him on your team, you can get him into your lineup and he can do some things for you.
I like it. All right, Brian, what about you?
I got Chuba Hubbard. I know he's kind of lost that starting job to Rico Dowdle, but we've seen Dowdle kind of fall off these past few weeks. Like, I don't think he's had double-digit points the last 3 weeks. And we saw last week with Hubbard, 17 carries, 83 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He made the most and kind of getting that split role. Going up against the Saints this week, who've allowed the 11 most fantasy points to running backs, I think Hubbard's going to have a big week for you.
I like that one a lot. That's one where people jumped on it early and then kind of felt burnt and dropped them. And then now he's playing well again. I like that one a lot. Kevin, who else you got?
Okay, so I'm staying in the running backs, and I'm going to go with Chris Rodriguez of Washington, who last week I recommended picking him up if he's on your waivers. And so his playoffs include the following. Brian, your Giants, who are 31st against running backs. Win that matchup, he's got the Philadelphia Eagles, who are 25th. Win that matchup, then you go up against the Dallas Cowboys, who are 29th. So that is an absolute slam dunk. It doesn't get any better than that. So if you're needing running back help and he's still on the roster on the waivers, which I can't imagine that he is, but if he is, I would get him as soon as possible.
Very nice. Very nice. All right, Brian, who are you going with for another one?
I got Jacoby Myers, and we don't say this a lot about the Jaguars, but Myers going to Jacksonville kind of saved his season. Over the last 3 weeks, he has 16 catches, 179 yards, 3 touchdowns, 6+ targets in all those games. Him and Trevor Lawrence have really found something, and he's going up against Pittsburgh this week. We all know how bad that secondary is. I think Myers is due for a very big week this week and could be an absolute steal at your flex position in a fantasy matchup.
I like that a lot. It's a really weird time of year. Of course, the buys are finally done. Thank goodness. And injuries are really intriguing. If you had Danny Dimes as your quarterback, now you're screwed.
Go get Rivers. Go get Grandpa.
We're going to talk about that, I'm sure.
I got a league where I've got one league where I got Jaden Daniels. So obviously that's not great as well. And then the league that I had Danny Dimes, I'm trying to remember if that was which one that is. Oh, I've got I ended up picking up Matthew Stafford a few weeks ago, so I'm surviving that one just fine, I suppose. But it's been a weird year with those injuries; they always happen, and whatever from there. Kevin, I know you've got a couple maybe guys that you say they're not sneaky good players, but they're actually guys that could be busts here in the playoffs as well. You want to run through those real quick?
Okay, so some of the busts that I think that are coming up. One is Caleb Williams, Chicago quarterback. All right, so he's got Cleveland coming up. They're 4th against quarterbacks. Then he's got Green Bay, as you know. They're 8th against quarterbacks. And then at San Francisco. So when it comes to difficult matchups, if you happen to have him on your team, I think that he's going to struggle in those games. So I don't like him as a fantasy quarterback due to that schedule whatsoever. So if you have, maybe you're in a 2-quarterback league or something like that, but if he's your main quarterback, you're going to have some issues, I think.
Fair enough. And it's funny, we were messaging earlier this week, and I read over something, so Kevin was prepared for us, and then I throw out, let's do this, and kind just like, okay. And so thanks for that. I know, Brian, you started working on that as well. We weren't ready for that tonight. Do you want to mention anybody?
Yeah, I got a couple guys. My first one's Dak Prescott. I mean, I know he's kind of like the darling of fantasy football. Everyone that, preaches about waiting for a quarterback. Prescott's the first guy they bring up. But the Cowboys have Minnesota this week and the Chargers. They are 2 and 3 in terms of fewest fantasy points allowed per quarterbacks. I know we don't like to think of the Vikings, outside of anyone but 9, but that defense is scary. The Chargers defense, gave Jalen Hurts fits last night, as we saw. I think Prescott's going to struggle this year in the playoffs. And I also don't really love Michael Pittman because he got some tough matchups and that whole quarterback situation, whether it's, Philip Rivers is 44-year-old, out there, or Riley Leonard's inexperienced. It's not looking great for him.
For sure. That stuff, the Indianapolis stuff is crazy. We'll talk about that here in a second. But yeah, it's wild things going on right now.
Yep. Just one good more guy, Vince, if I could throw him in here. That's, and we talked about him just a minute ago. That's Breece Hall. This dude is going to bust, and here's why. This week he's got Jacksonville, who's the number 1 defense against running backs. You survive that, then he's got New Orleans, who, despite all the problems they have, are number 11 against running backs. You survive that. Then he's got New England, who's number 2 against running backs. So Breece Hall is not going to be your fantasy playoffs savior whatsoever. So don't hook your wagon to him going down the stretch.
I like it. All right, let's head into segment number 2. We call it the Cover 2. All right, we're talking just NFL news and things going on around the NFL, and we have to start with Indianapolis. The fact that Daniel Jones goes down with the Achilles, and then you're sitting there going, their backup quarterback, he's dinged up, may not be able to play this week. Tyler Warren's the emergency quarterback that you don't want to see out there, of course, throwing the football. And so I was sitting there racking my brain. Who would be a good person for Indianapolis to bring in? Not one time did I think. And yet here he is. Listen, he's fresh. And they say that he was running the same offense for his son's high school team, so he knows the offense well.
That's not a good start. It's it's so bad.
All right, so talk to me, Brian. You went through some quarterback hurt this year as well, and talk to me a little bit about the situation in Indianapolis, and was there really not a better option than Phillip Rivers?
I mean, there had to be a better option out there. We have a whole spring league where they literally just played a few months ago. You can't go and sign one of those guys from the XFL. I know Phillip Rivers is a borderline Hall of Fame quarterback. He had a great career. Nothing against that. But he hasn't played since the pandemic. He's 44 years old. He's going to be insanely rusty out there. And I get, the game plan to be hand the ball to Jonathan Taylor, but there's no evidence that Phillip Rivers can throw the ball like he once did. So this is just an absolute disaster. And I'm also pretty upset from a Notre Dame standpoint that I can't watch Riley Leonard play, because I was very intrigued to see how his game would translate to the NFL. So An overall bad weekend for Notre Dame fans.
Yeah, not great. Yeah, that's a conversation for another show, but even the end of this episode as well. All right, Kevin, your thoughts on Indianapolis, Phillip Rivers, and what's the rest of the season going to look like for the Colts?
Well, I did not realize, first of all, that he hadn't played in that long. It seemed like he had played, a couple years ago, but it's been 4 years. And I thought Charles Barkley had an interesting thing to say about when a player retires, and they want to continue to play, but the body's all broken up and everything else. And then you sit out for a while, but then you start working out, and the body starts feeling great because you haven't been hit or any of that stuff. And then you try and go back, and then you figure out why it was you retired in the first place. And that's exactly what I see happening here, especially if he has to play this week against my Seattle Seahawks, who have one of the top defenses in football. They're number 2 against the run. So handing off the ball to Taylor may not be the best thing. That's probably the only thing they can do. But the only saving grace I could see is because Indianapolis is 10th in sacks allowed. So they don't let guys and the guy, Daniel Jones was not hurt because he was sacked or hit or any of that stuff. So maybe whomever's back there might be able to stand up a little bit, but it's not like he's going to be able to get outside the pocket.
No.
So this is going, for me, because I'm a Seahawk guy, as you can see back there, this couldn't work out any better for far as the Seahawks are concerned. But as far as a football perspective, this is just nuts to me. And this guy, he can't play. So don't put yourself in this position. Brian, you mentioned that he's okay. How he could be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
We can have that discussion, but don't sully yourself. Okay, don't do it. Just like Russell Wilson, we could argue was a Hall of Fame caliber quarterback, but what's happened the last few years has disintegrated that. So if you're Phillip Rivers, don't just say, hey, I can help coach the quarterbacks maybe, but that needs to be all.
So looking at the NFL practice squads, Bailey Zappi. I know it's been a long time since Bailey Zappi did anything good. Mike White, CJ Beathard as well. I'm trying to look through real quick and see.
Tommy Cutlets is on the Patriots practice squad, I believe.
Who is that?
DeVito, Tommy.
Danny DeVito. Okay.
Tommy DeVito, yeah.
Danny DeVito probably would have an issue playing quarterback,
but
he'd be more upset with his Jersey Mike subs.
Sam Hartman, Phillip Rivers, if you got him 2 years ago, even maybe, but like Kevin said, 4 years playing, smart guy, all that kind of stuff. But is there not somebody, even in an NFL system currently, that you can go sign? I just think that Mike White is probably as good as Phillip Rivers right now.
Yeah.
For what they're asking him to do. That's the way I look at it, at least. Will Greer. No, maybe not. There are guys out there that I just think makes sense for them to get a shot here over Phillip Rivers, but who knows? And maybe they will. Maybe at the end of the day, Phillip Rivers, he comes in first on the practice squad, of course. That's the way that works for the roster movement and all that kind of stuff. They can get them in and get them practicing, get them working out a little bit, all that kind of stuff. And maybe they come to a point where they go, this isn't going to work.
I think they'll come to
right now. They're
fast.
tied. They're tied for the division. And are they going to beat out Houston? It sure doesn't look like it. And Houston has the playoff or the tiebreaker. So
I have that information here. Jacksonville's in first place. They're 9-4.
Yeah.
And then Houston and Indianapolis are tied for
Houston's
second at
7 seed, wild card team right now, tied with Indianapolis.
But Houston's the hottest team in football. I think
that's right.
The division.
Yeah. So right now in the AFC, Denver, New England, Jacksonville, Pittsburgh are your top 4 seeds, division winners. Then you got Chargers and Buffalo, both at 9-4, and Houston at 8-5. Indy's at 8-5 also, but they're one team out at this moment. Baltimore, Kansas City, Miami, all sitting there at 6 and 7. They'll need to win divisions to get in, and Baltimore's really the only one that has the chance to do that. And I don't know that any of us would put money on Baltimore right now. I would not. Would either of you guys put up money on Baltimore over Pittsburgh?
Nope.
Not after that last game, because that was the chance for them to make their statement. Because they had won some games, after that bad start and everything else. But they lost. They gave up a rushing touchdown to Aaron Rodgers. Okay? That's bad.
Point made.
Yeah.
Yes. Fade to black. I'm out. Nothing else needs to be said about the Baltimore defense. They gave up a touchdown to Aaron Rodgers. Rushing. Okay?
Now, I know this is a drastic long shot, but I'm curious to get the percentage chance that you guys think Cincinnati makes the playoffs. They're currently 4-9. They're 3 games back from Pittsburgh. So they're going to have to win out, basically. They're going to play Pittsburgh, so that helps in their favor as well. At the end of the day, I look at it and go, listen, their offense is going to be fine. So the question is would Pittsburgh drop the ball, plus Baltimore continue to drop the ball as well? But give me a percentage chance of Cincinnati making the playoffs, Brian.
I'll give you 5%, because like you said, that the Bengals offense is so good, and you never want to bet against Joe Burrow, but the Bengals defense is such a question mark. And the Steelers have kind of an easy schedule. They're playing the Dolphins this week. They have the Lions, who are ice cold, the Browns, which you don't know what you get from Shedeur Sanders, and they close the season out with the Ravens, who they just beat. So it kind of looks like it's all in Pittsburgh's favor right now.
Yeah, and Bengals, by the way, have Baltimore this week, Dolphins next week, Cardinals the week after, and close it out with the Browns as well. So they could actually win out.
They could win out. but I don't think
Pittsburgh has to lose 3 games. Yeah.
Yeah.
Evan, your percentage chance of the Bengals making the playoffs?
I'm right there with Brian. I say it's 5%.
Yeah.
And because Pittsburgh's got the schedule to make this happen. Because as you just gave it out there, because let's see, because Baltimore's got Cincinnati, but then they've got New England, then they've got Green Bay, then they've got the Steelers.
Yeah.
Much more difficult schedule. And they, like I said, they lost their chance to me. But so this is Pittsburgh's. If they win 9 games, they win because they're 7. They win 2 out of these last 4. They're going to win a division, and not a lot of confidence going into the playoffs. But they haven't had that in years now. So
sure,
yeah. But Pittsburgh's going to win this division, and Cincinnati. As much as we like them, I like them. We like them in this house. So, but they're going to score 32 points, but give up 37. So,
yeah. I'm going to throw a 25% chance on there. I think there's enough chaos in the NFL world that it could happen. And like I said, what I saw from Joe Burrow last week makes me say, okay, they might be the best team. They're obviously their defense is horrendous, but their offense is so stinking good. I doubt they're going to make it, but I'm going to give them 25% chance. That way I can at least have it on record that I said, you're saying there's a chance. So we got it on there as well. In the NFC, the Rams, Packers, Eagles, and Bucks currently leading the divisions. Seattle is at 10-3 at number 5. San Francisco and Chicago 9-4, filling out 6 and 7. Detroit is a game out at the moment. Carolina is tied with Tampa in the record, but Tampa has the tiebreaker currently over Carolina. And then you've got Dallas and Minnesota dangling back there at the back end. So let's talk about Tampa and Carolina, because neither of those teams look like they want to be in the playoffs this year, Kevin. So what are your thoughts on the NFC South?
Well, it's interesting because last week they played Arizona. And everybody's like, oh, it was such a great win for Tampa. But they played them at home, and they beat them by 4 points. That was not an inspiring victory to me, because then you saw Arizona go out and just get blown off the field at home, no less, by the Rams.
Yeah.
So they're Tampa, they've got playmakers, but they all been hurt. And so I'm not really confident in them. Carolina, they're right there. I like their running game. And so I think this sets up nicely because they play each other, Carolina and Tampa, twice. So whoever wins those is going to win the division, and they're going to get a home game. It's one of those times where you shouldn't get one, even though you won their division. And so this is another 9-win maximum, division to win.
Yeah. And
so this is going to be anyone's division. So I'm not going to say I like either or at this point. It's if Tampa's healthy, they've got the advantage, and to me, as far as the team. But they're just
Brian,
not.
You look at these matchups, they play, like I said, they play each other twice. So that's going to play a big role into how it all turns out in the end. What's your confidence level with Tampa and with Carolina right now?
So Tampa, it all depends on health for me with where they are. I know Mike Evans is rumored to be returning this week. I know he was a limited practice on Monday, but what Mike Evans are you getting at this point? Coming off that, pretty brutal injury that we all watched on Monday Night Football, we don't know what he's going to be. So I give them probably if I were to break it down, I think I go Tampa 40 and Carolina 60, because I know they don't look great, but they're kind of surpassing everyone's expectations. They're kind of like that feisty up-and-coming team, kind of that just sticks around in games. They beat the Rams a couple weeks ago, so they've proven they can beat people. I think this is, with the amount of young talent they have, as long as Bryce Young doesn't turn back into, the Bryce Young we saw in his rookie season earlier this year, the Panthers have the inside track.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think I'm the same way. I think Carolina, 60% chance right now. the schedule lines up for them. All they got to do is beat Tampa. They got New Orleans this week. They get Tampa twice, and they just beat the Rams. So yeah, I am so surprised at Carolina this year, and pleasantly surprised, with what they're doing right now. NFC North, Green Bay beats Chicago. The Bears are still in the playoffs at the moment. Detroit's a game out right now. It's wild how good the West is, and the North right now lining up to be pretty good too. Who shakes out in the NFC North, Kevin? Is it Bears and Packers? Is it Lions and Packers? Is it Lions and Bears? Like how does it shake out? Do you think which two teams make it to the playoffs?
Well, I know my brother wants to talk about the Bears, but they can't beat your Packers. Yeah. Doesn't matter who's quarterback in Green Bay. And so, they can't say, okay, Aaron Rodgers, he owns them.
Yeah.
But he's not been there anymore. But this is going to be very interesting because Green Bay, they're at Denver, then at Chicago, then Baltimore, and at Minnesota. So that's pretty difficult. But the Bears have Cleveland, and they should beat them, but they, you never know.
Right.
Then you've got Green Bay, then at San Francisco, and then you've got the Lions. That's a much more difficult schedule, and I know they've got 9 wins, but I'm not sold on them. They have to win one of these tough games for me to believe in them. Then you've got Detroit. They've got the Rams, Pittsburgh, at Minnesota, at Chicago. So that none of those schedules are easy. So any of those teams could be 11, 10-win teams. So it'll be interesting to see. Detroit, they need to put together a whole game against somebody other than the Dallas Cowboys. Okay? And so we need the Rams are a tough test. We all know this. And so we'll see about that. And then Pittsburgh, Minnesota, but then Chicago. So this is a very interesting division. And I know you've got, your eyes set firmly on it, being a Green Bay fan and all that in Wisconsin. But so this is going to be very interesting coming down the stretch.
Yeah, I think it's Chicago and Detroit final game of the season playing for the final wildcard spots the way that I see it. But again, I'm a little biased on that, Brian. So how do you think the NFC North shakes out?
I still think the Bears have the shot here because, like Kevin said, I want to see the Packers get tested somewhere else. Like they won the game, but it was in Green Bay. So play that game in Chicago, play it on a neutral site. Then I think that score goes differently. The Lions, I wanted to believe in them. I just can't. Like they just, like I've said, they got to be someone else other than Dallas. I know putting up 40+ points is impressive, but it becomes very unimpressive when you realize it's against that Dallas defense. So
Green you guys Bay's forget they beat Marcus Mariota and the Commanders too convincingly. I don't understand.
I'm sorry. I didn't realize.
Yeah, you brought us around on that.
That's right.
Never mind. No. But yeah, no, I think this is still the Bears' division to lose right now.
Kevin, as a Seattle fan, you're 10-3, and yet you're the 5 seed. You look at the college playoff arguments and all that kind of stuff. I go back to the NFL and I go, I think you win your division, you're in the playoffs, but I do not think you should be guaranteed a home game because you won your division. I think it should come down to standings and seed it that way, because right now you'd have Los Angeles 1, Seattle 2 in the seedings if you seed it according to standings, how they currently sit. But Seattle, you got to be happy with what Seattle's doing this year. Absolutely.
And I was a bit concerned because at halftime it was 6-6.
Yeah.
And you're like, where in the world is the offense?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, 100-yard kickoff return, touchdown.
Yeah.
Atlanta's taking the ball down the other way, fumble, Seattle recovers. And then they figure out, hey, we've got JSN on our team, so let's throw him some couple of deep balls.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden, the route is on.
Yeah.
And so they've got the defense to handle anybody. And as I mentioned, they've got Indianapolis this week. Then next Thursday night, they've got the Rams at home. That's going to be the biggest, we talk about Thursday night games or being, garbagey and all that's valid, but Seattle and the Rams on Thursday night, that's must-see TV right there. And I say that even, I know I'm biased, but you've got there'll probably be 2 11-win teams going head-to-head in that game right there. So you look at the schedule right here. The Rams have Detroit, as I mentioned, and they're at Seattle, at Atlanta, then they've got Arizona. They've got the 2 easiest games to finish off the season. Then you've got Seattle, Indianapolis, the Rams, at Carolina, at San Francisco. Much more difficult schedule.
Yeah.
So, but it's right there for the Seahawks. If they win out, they win the number 1 seed. And then you've got the 49ers, who have Tennessee, Indianapolis, Chicago, and then Seattle. So this is going to be must-see TV down the stretch on all 3 of these teams.
Brian, your team's obviously out of it in the Giants, but you have to take a little bit of pleasure seeing that even the division leader is really just struggling really, really badly right now. And the game Monday night, Jalen Hurts 4 interceptions, it's so ugly in Philadelphia. At the very least, you got to be getting a little bit of joy that no one else in the division really looks that good.
A little bit of joy. Listen, I try to be as unbiased as I can. However, I say this multiple times over. I cannot stand the entire city of Philadelphia. So anytime the Eagles lose or struggle, it's like Christmas for me. But if we're going to be all honest, it does make me feel bad the whole division is struggling.
Yeah.
And if I'm a Cowboys fan, I'm absolutely distraught over what I watched on Thursday, because this was a team that I said last week was the hottest team in football. So I'm sorry, Texans, for jinxing you. I said that a little earlier in the show. But this is a team that was hottest team in football, thought they were playing for something, and then go into Detroit and lose in a shootout. If they would have won that game, I think the Cowboys would have won that division. I really do. Now, I think the Eagles had enough cushion and an easy enough schedule that no matter what happens from here, they're winning that division. But no matter who they play, they're getting bounced in the first round.
Yeah, I think Dallas is going to be looking back this season and just looking at opportunities missed, right? They could have beat Green Bay. That one ends in a tie. Beginning of the year, they lose to Philadelphia by only 4. So that was a close one. They get beat 31-14 by the Bears early in the season too. Those are the games you'll look back on and go, they lost by 3 to the Panthers as well. So those are the games you look back on and go, man, if 2 of those go a different way, everything's different, because as of late, they beat the Eagles, they beat the Chiefs in back-to-back weeks, and they couldn't pull it off this week against the Lions. But they get the Vikings this week, and that usually can right the ship the way the Vikings have been playing as of late as well. All right, anything else news-wise you guys want to cover?
Well, just to mention this, because there have been a lot of injuries going on in the NFL, and we mentioned one of them already, but Jaden Daniels, we've seen the last of him this year. I think we should.
We should, yeah. I always thought it was silly to even consider bringing him back, because you're not going anywhere this year. Why risk making the injury worse? We saw with RG3, they rushed him back and it got worse. Granted, it was a playoff game, so it made sense, but why do it in a lost season? So
we had that, and then we had Zach Ertz, one of the more ugly plays that I've seen.
Yeah.
And he's out. Devin Achane, ribs, may or may not play on Monday. Looks like he will. That's pretty much it. Jalen Hurts, 4 interceptions and a fumble.
Yeah.
Don't forget the fumble, which he had on one play.
Yeah, right. That was crazy. 2 turnovers in one play.
My buddy just texted me, what just happened? I'm like, the funniest thing ever. Don't question it. Just laugh.
So if you're a fantasy, and of course you're watching this, so you are. And the question was, does he get dinged for having an interception and a fumble on the same play? And the answer should be yes to that. Yeah. I haven't looked to see if it was or not, but
I didn't look at
it
that.
should be.
Yeah. Great point. All right. Very good. Let's head in now, because we need to talk about some starts and sits this week. So let's get into the read option. All right, starts and sits this week. Brian, let's start it off with you. Actually, before we get to you, I pulled up on Rotobot AI. We've been using Rotobot AI all season, And I love their start sit, how it works on the program, on the app and everything like that. So right now, I know we're in the playoffs, we're at the end of the year. Maybe you just want that extra tick. You go to Rotabot AI, download the app, and use the code belly up. You're going to get a free week, which is a better week to use it than right now, right? So I've got a league where I've got Ashton Genty, Travion Henderson, and Omarion Hampton in there. I also have Jonathan Taylor. I didn't put him in this because I'm starting Jonathan Taylor, but I put these 3 guys in and said I can start 2 of them because I got a flex spot, another running back spot as well. They're giving me Genty and Henderson this week, benching Omarion Hampton. That's in Genty, 71% rush share, 59% catch rate against the Philly defense that concedes 55.5% run plays, offer volume and multidimensional upside despite modest efficiency. And Henderson's at a 4.8 yards per carry, double-digit touches over 6 games, and a favorable matchup versus Buffalo. And their vulnerable running back defense, ranked 29th, provide a reliable floor. Hampton, though volume heavy, faces Kansas City's top-ranked run defense with disciplined gap integrity, limiting explosive plays and touchdown upside, making Genty and Henderson safer, higher confidence starts this week. So there you go. Some thoughts from Rotobot AI. All right, Brian, you're doing Thursday night football starts and sits. Who you got this week?
So I'm going to start. My first start might be surprising. Kirk Cousins. The Buccaneers have allowed the 6th most points to quarterbacks this season. And I know Cousins kind of been up and down, but we saw, it didn't look great this week. But against the Jets and Saints, he combined for 37 completions, 433 yards, and 2 touchdowns and a pick. So I think he can put some numbers against this, battered Buccaneers defense. I'm also starting Emeka Mbuka. He's been pretty lackluster these past 4 weeks after, having a tremendous start to the season. But the Falcons have all the 10th most fantasy points wide receivers this season. And with the rumors that, Mike Evans might be back this year, the Falcons secondary can't just double him up all night. So he'll have plenty of opportunities to get open. For sits, I'm going to sit Cade Otton. Look, as the Buccaneers get more and more healthy, Cade Otton's role in this offense gets less and less and less. And to make matters worse, the Falcons are the 2nd best team against tight ends in terms of fantasy points this year. And I'm also going to bench Tyler Algier. Look, I know Algier's kind of been a popular option, especially in some of these deeper leagues, as he's had 10-plus touches in 2 of the last 3 games. However, the Falcons have been pretty average. The Buccaneers defense has been pretty average against running backs this year. I think this is a game where Bijan is going to kind of take over, and then Algier is kind of going to be left in the dust.
I like it. All right, Kevin, you've got some early kickoff games on Sunday. Who you starting and sitting?
Okay, so first I'm going to start Mark Andrews of the Ravens tight end. Even though we only had 1 catch against Pittsburgh, they played the Cincinnati Bengals, as we mentioned. Cincinnati is last against tight ends. If you have Isaiah Likely, I'd throw him in there, whichever one you have. I would start your Jackson Dart because he had a touchdown, went up against New England, but this week he's got Washington, number 29 against quarterbacks. So I think that he's set up for a good game. Travis Etienne, Jacksonville, playing Indianapolis last week, had 2 touchdowns, and then they play the Jets, who are 28th against running backs. So that is a start for me. Sits. Blake Corum had 2 touchdowns against Arizona, which is all nice and great. They're not playing Arizona this week, though. They got Detroit, who's the number 1 team against running backs, so you don't want to do that to yourself. Travis Kelce. What has happened to Travis Kelce? Had 1 catch against Houston, and 1 fantasy point. Houston has a great defense. Well, it doesn't get much better this week. He's got the Chargers, who have the number 9 defense against tight ends. And then I've talked about Jacoby Brissett in previous episodes. Cancel that. All right. He had 2 touchdowns against the Rams. All great. Houston is number 1, and they're playing him on the road against quarterbacks. You want absolutely nothing to do with Jacoby Brissett. Sit him big time.
I like it very much. Blake Corum, let me just throw out a shout out to him. He was a late pickup for me this past week. I don't even remember who I had that. I had someone on bye or something going on. Anyways, I had to pick up a running back kind of like last minute. I threw Blake Corum in there, and it was a very good week for Blake Corum this past week. 26 fantasy points, so that was great. But I agree with you, Kevin. It's not an every week thing. for him. All right, late kickoffs on Sunday, Brian. Who you got?
Well, quickly, the cat. To answer your question, what happened to Travis Kelce is very similar to what happened to the basketball players in Space Jam, where he put that Day Taylor Swift and it sucked all the talent out of him. Go look at the numbers; they back it up.
Okay.
Anyway, my first start is Juwan Jennings. Had 4+ catches in the last 5 games. Average around 50 yards a game. He's also got a touchdown in 4 of the last 5 games. He's been producing pretty well. I think that continues. My second one is Devin Neal, the Saints' second-string running back. A lot of questions around Kamara's health this week. We don't know if he's going to go or not. And if he does go, how healthy. Neal's had 12+ touches these past 2 games, and the Panthers allowed the 10th most points to running backs this year. So I think Neal could have his breakout performance. And I'm also going to start Matt Stafford. Had a nice bounce-back performance after a pretty questionable one in Week 13. And the Lions have allowed the 5th most points to quarterbacks this season. I'm going to sit Jonathan Taylor. I know this might sound crazy, but especially considering the Colts quarterback situation. But the Seahawks defense is ranked 5th against running backs this year. And if you look at what the Chiefs did to Jonathan Taylor, the Chiefs are 7th. They bottled up Taylor. I think the Seahawks are going to have a very similar game plan for that. I'm also mentioning Christian Watson. Look, the Broncos have allowed the second fewest points to receivers, and they also get to the quarterback a lot. And Jordan Love, when he's pressured, his catchable pass rate is 41.7%. So Watson's not going to have a lot of balls that are catchable. I think he's going to have a slow day.
Man, that's a brave take. I'll say that about Jonathan Taylor. And
I swear, no one will believe me. I almost did it when he played the Chiefs, and I pulled back on him like, no, you're crazy. And then I saw it happen. I'm like, next time you get that feeling, go.
I am a Jonathan Taylor truther. I stick with him through thick or thin. And so I will remember when it fails miserably for me in my playoff matchup. I remember Brian tried to warn me. Needless to say. All right, Kevin, Monday Night Football starts and sits. Who you got?
Okay, so Monday night's game is Miami and the Pittsburgh Steelers. All right, so I am going to start Aaron Rodgers in this game. 284 yards, 2 touchdowns, and the former rushing touchdown that we mentioned earlier goes up against Miami at number 19. I'm going to start Jalen Waddle, who caught 5 of 7 balls for a touchdown. Pittsburgh is 27th against wide receivers. I'm going to start Kenneth Gainwell of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Had a rush TD, caught 6 of 7 targets in his last game. Miami is number 22 against running back, so that's a start for me. Sits, DK Metcalf, former Seahawk, and he went off this past week and had 148 yards against Baltimore. That's all well and good, but he's not playing Baltimore this week. Miami's number 3 against wide receivers. Look for him to have more of what he had a week before that against Buffalo, where he caught just 3 passes. And also, he's questionable. So Monday night, you don't want a questionable wide receiver you're hanging your hat on. And then the same thing about Devin Achane right here. Has ribs, probably will play, but you don't know if he will. And so if he does play, Pittsburgh has the number 10 defense against running backs. So that's a questionable start to me. Maybe you don't have any choice because it's Devin Achane, but if you do, I would look into it. And so that's what I have.
All right, very good. I want to run 4 wide receivers past you guys. I need to play one of these guys. All right, so I'm going to ask you, let you guys think about it for a second. I'm going to tell you what Rotobot AI says, and then I'll have you guys give your thoughts as well, okay? So here's the 4 receivers. First of all, I am playing Tet McMillan and Emeka Egbuka. I'm playing both of those guys. Here's my options of the other guys. Jalen Waddle playing Pittsburgh. Brian Thomas Jr. playing the Jets. Ladd McConkey playing the Chiefs. And Xavier Worthy playing the Chargers. So Waddle, Brian Thomas, McConkey, and Worthy are the options. Rotobot says clearly, far and above, without a shadow of a doubt, to play Jalen Waddle against Pittsburgh. They say he's got a 19.7% target share, 9.7 yards per target against the Steelers defense, ranked 7th easiest for wide receivers. Plus, his 74.5% catch rate and history of dominating this secondary make him a clear start. In contrast, the Thomas, McConkey, and Worthy facing tougher defenders with lower target shares, less efficient catch rates, and limited upside due to competition and coverage schemes. Waddle's volume, efficiency, and matchup edge decisively justify starting him over the others. Do you guys agree or disagree with Rotobot that Waddle's the start over Xavier Worthy, Ladd McConkey, and Brian Thomas Jr.?
I agree, but I wouldn't say it's far and away. Like, I think it's between him and Brian Thomas, because if you think about it, Worthy is wide receiver 2. We just saw McConkey on Monday night. I think he caught 1 pass on 5 targets. Like, he just had a horrific game out there. So by that, to me, it's between Waddle and Thomas. And I think Myers is stealing a lot of Thomas's thunder right now. So I would lean Waddle.
Well, I would certainly agree with that, Brian, because I just talked about Waddle.
Yeah.
And the reasons why I'm starting him. And so in McConkey, don't trust him. Don't trust him at all. And I drafted, unfortunately for me, Brian Thomas. And so I don't trust him. And he's got competition over there as far as wide receivers as well. And so when it comes to this, I would say it was far and away, but he's at least ahead over those other guys. So I would certainly start Waddle against all those other guys.
Awesome. Well, again, that's information's from Rotobot AI. If you download the app, you get a free week if you use Belly Up when you get to checkout. And it's a great opportunity for you. There's some really, really cool tools on the app right now. And we've had several people that have signed up and tried it out through using that code. So make sure you join in. And before the season ends, make sure you get an opportunity to use it here as well. All right, there you go. Starts and sits for this week. Let's head into our red zone. All right, red zone. We're talking about waiver wire additions here. We're in week 1 for most people of the playoffs. And Brian, let's start with you for a waiver wire pickup this week.
Well, when I normally do research for this, I go on ESPN or Sleeper and I click roster and I go down, and I was shocked at how little rostered Blake Corum is. He's only rostered in 22% of leagues. He's had 80 plus rushing yards the past 2 weeks. He's averaging roughly 7 to 12 touches per game, so he's getting work. And look, 80 plus rushes with like 7 to 12 carries. He's doing more with less. He's had 2 great performances. I think he's going to pop off for these last few weeks. I would be sprinting to my waiver wire to pick him up right now.
Love it. Kevin, who you got?
Okay, so I'm kind of surprised to hear you say that, Brian, because my top guy is also running back, but it's your guy, and I'm talking about Singletary. I'm sorry. Singletary. Devin Singletary. Okay, he's at 27% rostered. He has 3 TDs in his last 3 games. Okay, and averaged 5.7 yards per carry against New England. 3 catches. Goes up against Washington, and they've got the number 25 defense against running back. So if you need running back help, I would go to him first on my waiver wire claim.
All right, let's snake draft this. Kevin, why don't you go again? Who else you got?
Okay, so Shedeur Sanders. We just talked about how these guys, there's a lot of injuries, right? Yeah. And you might need a quarterback. If you do, okay, he's at 7.3% rostered. And let's see here, 364 yards, 3 touchdowns. 1 touchdown on the ground, okay, versus Tennessee, and he goes up against Chicago and their number 22 ranked defense against quarterbacks. So I know this might sound crazy, but I think Shedeur Sanders, if you need an emergency guy, I know it's the first round of the playoffs and hopefully you don't need this, but if you've got a guy who's injured, this is the guy I would take a look at.
Yeah, for what it's worth, Jerry Jeudy's only 62% rostered. And last week had a big game with Shedeur Sanders, so something to keep an eye on also. Brian, who else you got?
I got Isaiah Likely. I know all the talk is about was it or wasn't a touchdown, but he's only rostered in 8.1% of leagues, back-to-back weeks of 10 points, 6+ targets in both of those games. He's proven that he can get it done, whether he needs that touchdown or those yards. He's been pretty solid these last few weeks and could be a nice, insurance option to have on your bench in the playoffs.
Yeah, long term, I am shocked Mark Andrews signed an extension there.
I'm stunned.
Yeah.
That makes no sense.
I love Mark Andrews. Don't get me wrong. I thought getting him out of there would be a good thing for his career. Thought he'd get paid nicely and all, and Baltimore paid him, but still, I was shocked when he signed that contract. I really thought he was going to end up in Philadelphia next year. So that's not going to happen, of course, now. So there you go. All right. Any other waiver additions you guys wanted to discuss?
Well, I have one.
Okay.
And that's Jalen Coker, Carolina wide receiver, at 9% rostered. Okay. Week 13, he had a touchdown against the Rams. We all know how tough their defense, and he was on his bye week. This week, he's got the New Orleans Saints. So if you're needing wide receiver, I would look at his way, because at 2.9% rostered, he is almost certainly available. So if you need wide receiver help, look his way.
Very nice. Brian, anybody else you want to talk about?
Yeah. Jalen Wright, only rostered in 1.8% of leagues. He's kind of the second string back in Miami right now. 24 touches, 107 yards, and a touchdown. That's roughly about 16 fantasy points. He could be a really nice insurance policy for you on the bench as well.
Yeah, especially with Achane banged up.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, it's a great call.
And
I want to bring up Brenton Strange. We've talked about him all season long, honestly, except for when he was injured. 37.2% rostered right now in ESPN leagues. Last week, not a great week. He had 6 targets, only 3 catches for 27 yards. But against Tennessee, had 3 catches for 45 yards and a touchdown. And against Arizona the week before that, 5 catches, 93 yards. They're playing the Jets this week. I like Brenton Strange a lot as a tight end right now, and especially if you had a Zach Ertz maybe on your team and you need a tight end, I think that's worth going to as well.
I agree with that. And Brian, I also had Isaiah Likely down on my list. And if you're needing a tight end, one more guy is AJ Barner of my Seattle Seahawks.
I looked at him too.
Who's at 16.4% rostered. Goes up against Indianapolis. Guess what? They're ranked number 29 against tight ends. And so that sets up well for him. If you need a tight end, I've got Brenton Strange on my team. So I agree with you, Vince, on that one. So if you're needing tight ends, there are some good candidates here.
All right. Very good. Very good. All right. Let's go into our final segment. It's what we call Beat the Bot. All right. Beat the Bot's presented by Rotobot AI, which is a fantasy football platform that equips users to make decisions faster and smarter. Rotobot AI is able to recognize each user's unique scenario and tailor roster advice based on that. Sits and starts, trades, waivers, and then there's all the data element on top of it as well. And by the way, this is a pretty new company, just a couple years old, and they continue to improve and add things to the app as well. So more things coming that I can't tell you about right now, but more things are coming very soon down the road for Rotobot AI. Download the app, Rotobot AI, and use the code BELLYUP. You're going to get a free week of access to Rotobot AI. All right, guys, we are coming down to the end right now. And Brian and the Rotobot are tied at 5 right now on the season. Last week, we gave 4 wide receivers to choose from. And who would score the most? There was the Rotobot went with Nico. He had 16.1. I went with Alec Pierce. He had 13 fantasy points. Brian went with Rashee Rice, who had 7.4. And Kevin went Scary Terry, who went 7.1. Thanks a lot to the Jaden Daniels injury, I'm sure. So Rotobot got a win this past week. It's been a little while since they got a win. So a big win for the bot this week. So this week, we're doing top scoring kickers this week. I don't think we've done this yet this year.
No,
but no kickers. And I will tell you, first of all, shout out to Kelsey Coyne, who came on our draft and just raved about kickers.
Forgot about this.
Yeah, and it was early, 7th round maybe.
Yeah.
That's right. He sure did.
And he just went on this tear about kickers, and you need a kicker, and they're high scoring. And now we got it out on the social media, Belly Up social media, that right now the top scoring kicker in the league, it would be wide receiver 6 right now in fantasy football. So that made me go, okay, yeah, let's talk about kickers. Let's give them a little bit of love. Shout out to Kelsey for being right. all that kind of stuff too. Because when Kelsey's right, we got to make sure we acknowledge it. It doesn't happen very often. And and we're gonna find out if Kelsey watches our show now.
That's right.
All right.
That's right.
So we're doing top kickers. Rotobot goes with Brandon Aubrey this
Of course
week.
he did.
Their leading kicker.
Chalk.
Yeah, absolutely. That come on, takes a chance.
I'm going Andy I don't know how you say his name. Barragalis from New England.
Sounds good.
Who's been on a stroll as of late as well. All right, Brian, who are you going with this week as your top kicker?
I mean, picking kickers is such a gamble because you don't know. There's so much that goes into a kicker having a fantasy performance. But I'm going to ride with the guy I've rode with all season. Give me Tyler Loop.
Okay, I like it. All right, who you got, Kevin?
Well, my kicker, okay, Jason Myers, has been outstanding all season, kicking long field goals and everything else. And so I'm going with him as my selection. And so I think he's got I think Dallas kicker probably got the far and away the best shot at this. But if I'm going to go and try and get a layup against that, I'm going to go with Jason Myers.
All right, very good, very good. I'm curious, guys, kickers. What's your favorite kicker memory in your life? Because for me, it's Martin Gramatica, seeing the injury, celebrating, and going down.
Well, I remember that.
That for me was there. Or the double doink in Chicago. That was fun too.
Yeah.
But I don't know. You guys have a favorite kicker moment? You guys remember Sebastian Janikowski getting drafted by the Raiders?
Yeah. Actually, no, I don't. That's before
first
me.
round?
Yeah. I'm gonna go with well, it's not a good kicker memory, but Mr. Anderson of the Minnesota Vikings.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Had missed a field goal, not one, all season long. And here we're playing Atlanta. They're at home. He kicks the field goal. They win, but he misses. The only miss he had all season. Minnesota loses. They're 15-1, and they don't go to the Super Bowl.
Bummer. All right, Brian, what's your kicker memory?
Kickers have pretty much horrified and terrorized me my entire life, whether it be every single kicker ever kicking a career-long field goal to beat the Giants, or the Giants just ineptitude in kickers. So I'm pretty out on kickers, but I guess if I have oh my God. I guess if I have a favorite memory, it's the clip of that Chargers kicker peeing on the sideline in the water bottle and then going out there making the field goal. I forgot his name, but that's the best.
Man, I remember the Buffalo wide right. I mean, there have been some classic kicker. Vinatieri with some great kicks. There's been some positives, of course, as well. But and we've had a year for kickers this year. I mean, we had the Jaguars kicker preseason, just absolutely crushed one. He's had a long one this season too, but lots of fun kicker memories this year, even as well. So we'll continue to see that evolve, I think, over time, also. All right, Kevin Wilson, what do you got going on this week, man?
Well, we have, and you can be as sure as the sun rises in the east, we'll be talking about Indianapolis and their quarterback situation on our Seahawks session show on Friday. I'm already looking forward to seeing what my two colleagues have to say about this decision. So we will be doing that on Friday. Then we have the post-game show. And so you can look forward to that. When we talk on Friday, you just don't know what we're going to get into. It could be something way, 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 way unrelated to our current discussion. But you can look forward to seeing that. And that's pretty much what I have going on at present.
All right, Brian Germaro. Just to clarify, if anyone's tuning in late or hasn't been around to watch, Brian is a Notre Dame fan. He writes about Notre Dame as well and things like that. It's been a rough week for BG over there. What do you got going on this week? Is there gonna be positive vibes coming from Brian this week? Or are we still?
Look, there's always positive vibes coming from me. I try to be a positive guy, you know. My sports teams are making it very hard over the whole Notre Dame debacle, and then Edwin Diaz deciding to go to Los Angeles this morning. But
I saw your reaction on that, by the way.
Yeah. I gave a very unbiased reaction, and then on my personal TikTok, you could watch my meltdown. Brian Peachy 1016 on Twitter if you want to go see that. But we have 3rd and 10 on Thursday. We took off today because there's no Giant game on Sunday, and I don't think Nate wanted to listen to me talk about Notre Dame for 45 minutes, so took the day off. We will be back Thursday to break down Giants Commanders, and I will have the Notre Dame eulogy out at some point this week. Now, I'm not sure when, but it's coming.
Well, I've got my show this week, the Sports Stove Football Show. We will discuss the playoffs, college football playoffs. I said it for a couple of weeks that Notre Dame didn't deserve to be in, but well, I still believe that. I don't believe they deserve to go out the way they went out. So we'll talk about that on Thursday's show as well.
As long as you can admit we got screwed, I'm good.
Yeah, very much so. And so we'll talk about that. Plus, we got NFL picks as well going on that show. On the Sports Stove YouTube channel, I've got tons of draft content out there right now. Would appreciate you going and checking that out. Several new people have found the channel recently and subscribed. We appreciate that. And so lots of stuff going on over there at the Sports Stove. You can also find the audio at the Sports Stove Football Show podcast for all of those things as well. All right, so make sure you follow on social media at Belly Up Sports, at Belly Up Fantasy as well. Go to bellyupsports.com to see the articles. Kevin and Brian will both have fantasy articles out this week, so check that out there as well. The personal social media accounts are all available also. And we'll be back next week to talk about week 1 of the playoffs, how it went, and get you ready for week 2 as well. We sure appreciate you tuning in to the Belly Up Fantasy Live Football Show this week. Good luck in your fantasy playoff matchups. And for those of you who are already out, hey, thanks for tuning in, even though you have nothing to play for anymore. So have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you next week.